Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome in. Kind of a last minute moment tonight. Hello, hello, hello. Had a last minute order come in, everybody. Hello, hello. Good evening. Yes, good evening. Hello. Good to see you all. Good to see you. I'm kind of coming in way after hours. Hello, hello, Renee. Hello, good to see you. I hope everyone has been having a good day today. Welcome. Yes. Oh, Estelle, I'm glad you got your notification. Hello, hello. Yes, I'm very late. I had actually planned to not go tonight. I had been to a science fair, so it's my day off. I know, I will, Jen, I will, but I had to come on. There is an order that was just filed today, and this is a protective order in Georgia. So I had to way past my bedtime. Yeah, so we're going to do a real short one, everybody. Love the purple. Yes, these were just kind of, hadn't really planned to go tonight. So was it great? Yes, it was. It was great. It was fantastic. Plugging in my phone. Yes. We'll go quick tonight, everybody. It's just a very quick update here. I knew it had to be something very interesting this late. Yes. So, oh my goodness, everybody. Now, you probably are familiar. You've probably all heard that there are the proffers that have been leaked to the news stations for Jenna Ellis and for Sidney Powell and Cheesebro, right? No, I'm just starting. I'm just starting, Kristen. Yes. So we had those three proffers, and they have been leaked. Now, after they were leaked, lots of people have seen them. They've really been going around. So Miss Fani Willis has requested a protective order because of that. Yeah, super late tonight. Yes, this is just kind of I just was able to pull this up and print it out, and I thought I better share with everybody. The hand's healing. It's doing much better. So much better. Thank you very much for asking. So we had this just filed again by Fani. She is requesting an emergency protective order for the discovery material in the Georgia case. Yes. Well, and I was planning to not come on tonight, but this was such a great order. It kind of explains where the proffers have come from. So we were able to figure out, I think they figured out who leaked the videos. Yes, from the DA's office. Yes. I was wondering what was going to come of them leaking. Yes, I just started. Yes. So this is specifically regarding those videos that came out. So, you've probably seen clips from Jenna's and from Sydney's. Those seem to be the two most popular clips that have been going around. So what had happened, everybody, was that the DA's office had given copies of those proffers to all of the defendants. So all of the remaining defendants have a right to see all of that information. Now, those videos, once they were sent out, somehow then got leaked to the media. So, yes, so they got leaked to the... Hello, Deborah. Oh my gosh, Deborah, I know it's so late. I know, I just popped on. So she goes through in this order and kind of explains what had happened here with these videos. Nothing surprises me anymore. Yes. So let me take you through. Yes, somehow. Let me take you through. This motion is only 2-3 pages long, and then I'll show you the exhibits that she has. So it'll be quick. Hello, Hawk. Welcome. It'll be a quick one tonight. Super late, but, after dark. After dark special. I just had to pop on. So, who would have leaked them? I know. So let's take a look. I do have a sticky note. It's not well written, but written nevertheless. Hello, Charlie. Hello. Good to see you, Dan. Yes. So a little extra bonus here. So here we go. This is the state's emergency renewed motion for a protective order over discovery materials. She had filed a previous protective order. It had not been ordered as of this point. So she's renewed it. Comes now the state of Georgia by and through Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis on an emergency basis renews its prior request that the court enter a protective order over all discovery materials produced by the state to any defendant in this matter in order to protect witnesses and to safeguard sensitive and confidential information. Such information includes but is not limited to statements of witnesses, personal identifying information of witnesses, confidential communications, confidential business records, documents obtained. We'll flip the page here. Under sealed orders, records from outside government agencies and grand jury materials. In support of this motion, the state states the following. So here we go. We will a bedtime story. Yes, this will be pretty quick, everybody. So here we go. Let's see what she set out. On September 27th of 2023, the state filed the underlying motion for a protective order over discovery materials. See Exhibit A, state's motion for protective order over discovery materials. The court has neither ordered a hearing on the state's motion nor entered the requested order, but the state has nevertheless complied with all discovery deadlines imposed by the court. So, number 2, in its motion, the state emphasized the need for a protective order, stating to the court that public release of information contained within discovery could subject witnesses to harassment and threats prior to trial, which could discourage cooperation and candor. Premature public discussion or release of information could also affect the jury pool. Number 3, on November 13th, confidential video recordings of proffers conducted by the state with certain witnesses pursuant to guilty plea agreements were published by ABC News and other media outlets. These confidential video recordings were not released by the state or any party. Just one moment, everybody. Sorry. Just one moment. Wardrobe malfunction. Just a minute. Okay. These confidential video recordings were not released by the state or any other party other than the defendants charged in the indictment pursuant to the discovery process as required by law. On November 14th, counsel for defendant, so that's today, counsel for defendant Harrison William Prescott Floyd sent an email to the state, members of the defense, and the court that stated it was Harrison Floyd's team. See Exhibit B, November 14th, email from T.A. Harding. This email was sent in response to an email from another defense attorney inquiring into whether the state publicly released the confidential video recordings. The state previously indicated that it did not publicly release the confidential video. Recordings. Counsel for defendant Harrison William Prescott Floyd then sent a subsequent email stating that his prior email was a typo and that the defendant Floyd's team did not communicate with the media. That's a little suspicious. All defendants have previously been released on bond with conditions of release prohibiting them from 1, performing any act to intimidate any person known to them, to be a co-defendant or witness in this case, 2, communicating in any way about the facts of this case with any person known to them to be a co-defendant or a witness in this case, and 3, otherwise obstructing the administration of justice. 6, the release of these confidential video recordings is clearly intended to intimidate witnesses in this case, subjecting them to harassment and threats prior to trial, constitutes indirect communication about the facts of this case with co-defendants and witnesses, and obstructs the administration of justice in violation of the conditions of release imposed by each defendant. Going forward, the state will not produce copies of confidential video recordings of proffers to any defendant to prevent further public disclosure. Instead, defendants must come to the district attorney's office to view confidential video recordings of proffers. They may take notes, but they will be prohibited from creating any recordings or reproductions. So that's huge. That is a huge moment. So now, under the Brady Rule, we've talked about this before, the Brady Rule requires prosecutor turn over any exculpatory evidence to the other side, or really any evidence, but particularly exculpatory. So under the Brady rule, the prosecutor has to give it to them or make it available to them. So typically prosecutors will just give it to the other side. It's just easier that way. But here she's saying, look, we're still going to make it available to everybody, but you need to come to my office if you want to see it. We're not sending out copies because of this leak. So let's take a look at the exhibits. Oops, we've got one more in the back here first, and then we'll go into the exhibits that she set out. Slow down, you're changing the meaning. Well, I should be pretty close. I should be pretty close. There may be a word or two, but in light of the release of these confidential video recordings, the state requests that the court, 1, enter a temporary order prohibiting disclosure of any discovery materials by any party, 2, schedule an emergency hearing on the state's motion filed September 27th, and 3, at the conclusion of the hearing, enter a permanent order prohibiting disclosure of any discovery materials by any party. Respectfully submitted by Fani Willis. So she is requesting a hearing. So that's pretty significant. Now, a lot of the information in the exhibits has been redacted, but we can take a look. So here's Exhibit 1. This is just her original motion for a protective order, and this was filed September 29th. So that's the first exhibit here. And so that's A. Here's their certificate of service on that first one. And then here's Exhibit B. So a lot of this has been redacted. Yes, Fani. Fani, yep. So here's, again, there's a lot redacted here, but there are pieces of this that, and again, I'm sharing this because this is public record, and this is part of, kind of a look inside what happens when something like this does occur, and we've got some leaks to the media. So this is regarding proffers leaked to the media, and then we have emails here, the messages sent, Harrison Floyd's team, and then by the attorney, just like she said as well. So there's emails going back and forth. The state had nothing to do with leaking any information to the media, ! So they're pretty upset about that. So much wasted printer. True. But pretty important, probably a lot of confidential information in here. It appears that ABC News, CNN, and the Washington Post have obtained leaked copies of the video proffers of Power, Ellis, and Chesebro. The proffers did not come from Jennifer or me or anyone connected with my defense team. Please state for the record whether the prosecution or anyone connected to the prosecution team had any hand in the disclosure of the proffers to the media. Thank you again. And then here's another attorney there. Yes, cheese and crackers. And then here's her certificate of service on her motion for that protective order. So this was just filed earlier today. We do not have anything yet from the judge. The judge hasn't submitted an order at this point that I know of. But I will be keeping my eyes on it because this is a pretty significant moment. So let me get the original language of the protective order pulled back up here. Exhibit A, here's Brady. And certificate of service. And then here's the email. So I would say this is pretty significant. I had several people asking me if this would negatively affect the jury pool. And, there's a couple ways to look at it. Many times when we are preparing for trial, we know that information is going to get out to the media. So we're prepared as attorneys. We know that's going to happen. We make it part of our voir dire. What have you seen in the media? And even in our questionnaires, we'll specifically set out to the jurors, what exactly have you seen in the media? What kind of media coverage have you seen? Have you seen anything regarding, and then sometimes we'll even list a witness or two. So sometimes we're that specific, sometimes we can't be that specific. It depends on your jurisdiction. But we always make sure to ask any of our potential jurors those kinds of questions because we really have to, right at the very start of it, figure it out. Now, one of the other questions people were asking what would the jurors do, the potential jurors do, if they had seen those videos before even being called in? And I think, as a lot of you have probably seen those sections of those videos, that's some pretty significant information. Now, we assess credibility and we explain the rules, we explain impeachment, we explain hearsay, all of those things to our jurors when we're in trial, when we're presenting the evidence. So they really have a guideline, they have a set of rules that they need to follow before even viewing that evidence. But when it's out in the media, there's no safeguards, there's no bumpers put on. So without having any way to filter what's acceptable and what's not acceptable for viewing, now we have a lot of potential jurors that have seen these clips of these witnesses. So I'm not saying that it's not possible to get an impartial jury, because of course it's always possible, but this definitely makes it harder. And I think too, she's trying to say, look, we gave this to the defendants and somebody leaked it. They originally had thought it was Floyd, but then Floyd said it was a typo, which is possible. It's not his team, or it was his team. That could be a simple typo. But either way, somebody here, one of these defendants here, leaked that information. She's saying it's because of witness intimidation. So the witnesses now have been exposed, and there could be witnesses now hesitant to testify. And I think she's got some valid points. The leak isn't a win, like many people are saying. No, I don't think so. I don't know that it's a win or a loss, but it's, I would say it's an obstacle. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. It's definitely an obstacle. It makes Fani Willis, who's the district attorney, it makes her job harder. So I would say because of that, yeah, of course, it could be Donald Trump. It could be his team that did it. Absolutely. Or Giuliani. It could have been anybody. Everybody here was given a copy of those. So anybody could have released it. So I would say it's definitely an obstacle. It's probably going to add extra time onto voir dire, extra time onto choosing impartial juries. Because again, they're going to have to make sure, have you seen the tapes? Have you seen the tapes? And of course, those tapes will keep circulating as well. You know, now that the media's had them out there and they've been out there, other people are downloading them and so on. So one thing I did notice was that they were just small clips. I didn't see an entire video anywhere. So I'm wondering if just bits were leaked rather than the entire piece. Because if the entire proffers were leaked and they are distributed piece by piece over the next few weeks, that actually could be catastrophic. Yes, well, and, again, just the short clips. Right. So with the short clips being put out there, again, I don't think it's really going to make or break the case. It just will add to the work. It just makes it harder for the DA and for everybody, really, especially if witnesses are seeing the reaction to the tapes and are afraid to come in and testify. Short clips of what? So we had Jenna Ellis, and we had Kenneth Cheesebro, and we had Sidney Powell. All did proffers or did kind of a Q&A session with prosecutors after they pled guilty in Georgia, and those were recorded. Those proffers or those Q&A question and answer sessions were recorded, given to defendants, and then pieces of them have been leaked to the media. Yes, I hadn't planned to go live tonight, so it's kind of a short after dark, last minute to kind of go over this. We've got Fani Willis requesting this emergency protective order here, so that's kind of it's kind of important. Order from Judge Cannon, going to keep this case from moving forward. T, that's a really great question. I had a lot of people asking me about that too, actually. Let me just wrap up here with this. I just want to make sure that we're here. Big thanks to the mods. Oh, absolutely. Why hasn't the judge issued the order already? Great question. I don't know. I'm not sure. How do the attorneys get these clips? It's all emailed. Yes. So, it could have been anybody in any of their law offices. Anybody that handled any of that discovery could have, copied any of those clips and leaked it out to the media. So, had no confidence in the Cannon case. Yes, Hawk discussed Cannon. Yeah, and I see what Hawk is saying. So let me just take a minute, everybody. Let's talk about that. Let me just make a note so everybody knows we're changing subjects real quick here. So Judge Cannon has shifted the schedule around a little bit. She's kept the trial date, which I think we all know is probably going to be moved, but she kept the original trial date. But because she's moved around different orders and put continuances in, there's a question now about the Georgia case. Now, here's the deal. If you have a federal case versus a state case, the federal case will always take precedence, so they will always go first. So what I think Hawk was talking about, and rightfully so, was that because of how she set her schedule, it could kind of mess with Georgia's schedule for when they're going to set a trial because they don't want to interfere. I can see what he's saying, but I think in Georgia, honestly, I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. Only because of their quantity of cases and how they run their cases. They're quick. The judge is like, set them up, knock them down, no playing around. He hasn't set out anything specifically yet. We're still fighting a handful of these people trying to get moved to federal court. We've still got all kinds of stuff going on. So this case still has over, we started with 19, so now we've got 14. We've still got 14 defendants. It's a mess. I would think that the judge will probably break that in half at least and do 2 batches. So I'm thinking he's probably going to set 2 trials up anyway. So I'm not sure what Judge Cannon's doing is really going to have that much of an impact on Georgia, in my opinion. That's just my thought, because I do think he's not going to try them all together. I think he is going to break them into 2 parts at least. That's my thought. Who benefits from the leak? Great question. Now, Fani, or Miss Willis, is saying that this is a way to intimidate witnesses. So it could be defendants benefit because there may be witnesses now who are more afraid of testifying than they had been before. I don't know if that's true, but I think it's a valid theory for sure. Why does it make her job harder? She's going to have more people now that have seen more information that is not controlled. So when we present evidence in criminal court, we're very controlled with how we present it and the scope that the jury can see it. But if you have evidence now that's just out there in the world without any kind of limits or rules when viewing it, so they're going to have to clean that up during voir dire. Just coming on, why is this an emergency motion? Because it just happened. The leak was just yesterday, and then today they're just finding out that they believe one of the defendants leaked it. So she's saying, this has been on file now since September 27th, and you haven't decided, Judge McAfee, you haven't made any decisions on this, and we need a decision because look what just happened. So she's putting it this way so that the judge will hurry up and jump in and make a decision. And I think he probably will. I think he is probably very, very aware of the significance here. There's just so much going on in this case. That was, I think, probably a lower priority for him. Could speed up the process for fear of more leaks. Is possible. It is possible, but it looks like what she wants to do is to make it so evidence needs to be seen in her office. So rather than making copies and send it to defense now, they're going to need to make an arrangement and come to Georgia, come to her office if they want to review the evidence, any more statements, which is, I think, completely appropriate and would still qualify under the Brady rule. But she's saying because we can't trust that our evidence isn't going to be leaked, our discovery is not going to be sent out to the press, you need to come in and see us. So that's kind of how she's dealing with it. Is this a deterrent for others to flip? I'm not sure. It could be. I could see how other people are like, wow, if they record me while I'm saying what happened, it could be shown everywhere, and that could be witness intimidation. So that could definitely be an element of it, for sure. Yeah, the only way that the prosecutors sent it to the defense team, all of the defendants received a copy. So that's what happened. And they had called the prosecutor out and said, hey, why'd you guys leak the video? And the prosecutors were like, we didn't. Is the leak illegal? Yes, that was private discovery that was given to the defense side. So whoever took that discovery from whichever defense team was involved, they were not to disclose it. And in fact, it was part of their conditions of release. Each one of them has been arrested, right, and booked. Part of their conditions was that they would not disclose information to the public. No, it wasn't her office. Could they be prosecuted? It's possible if they can find the original leak. What about safety for them? That's a great question. And I think, you know, she's kind of like opening the door and saying, if you guys need help, you can ask for it. But what was leaked? No, it's okay. It's okay, Jesse. Yeah, there were videos of the proffers done for Ken Cheesebro, for Jenna Ellis, and for Sidney Powell. They had done recordings of proffers. So a Q&A was done with the prosecutor and each of these defendants, and they were asked multiple questions and everything was recorded. All of those proffers were sent to the defense side as is required by the Brady rule in order to have a fair trial. And someone from not necessarily a defendant, but someone from somebody's legal team, it could have been a defendant, leaked the information to the media. Got that Trump tracker carpal tunnel. You know, it's so true. How'd you know? Thank you for explaining this. It's overwhelming. I agree. Oh, these are the interviews being shown in the news lately. Exactly, Jesse. You gotta, I just saw Ellis and Powell were broadcasted on ABC. Yes. So none of they knew when they were making their proffer that information was going to be used. They knew that. But for it to be released at this time, at this early stage, because someone from somebody's defense team leaked it, you know, Fani saying, look, you guys screwed up. It's a condition of your release not to give any information to the public. You gave information to the public. Now our witnesses are going to be worried about testifying. So what stands to gain from the leak? I think, and what Fani was saying, was that she believes there's some witness intimidation going on. And I think, too, one of the bigger issues as well is this idea of tainting the jury pool. So we've got the venere, or the pool from which the jury pool is chosen. Now, if they have, you know, seen any media, they will have seen clips. And so there's nothing necessarily wrong with seeing clips of things. It just makes things more difficult. She's going to have to ask more questions during voir dire. They're going to lose a lot more potential jurors because they've seen these kinds of clips, and it won't be fair enough. It could be Trump, you know, would be one of the people that received the proffers. So that could be. You think they did it, especially the jury? It's possible. It's possible, but sometimes I'm wondering. I walk a careful line between thinking this is all very strategic and what did somebody kind of ignorantly bumble into. So I've got kind of both of those theories going. So I'm not sure which one yet. It could have been any one of these people, or anyone on their team. So went to their attorneys. So any of their attorneys. Now the information came out that they believed it was Floyd, but then Floyd said it was a typo, that he didn't have anything to do with it. So that's not confirmed. But it was the defendant. I would not leak to the right-wing media. Yeah, I mean, we really just don't know. We really don't know who did it at this point, but they want to make sure it doesn't happen again. So, and it sounds like she believes that there will be more proffers coming in. And at this point, we need to make sure that that information doesn't get leaked either. What if they can't figure out who did it? I think it's okay if they don't know exactly who did it. I think if they figured out who did it, they could go forward and revoke their conditions of release if they were able to show that it was the defendant rather than some maverick in their office that did it. So that could be a possibility, but finding out who did it's not as important as making sure it doesn't happen again. So what she's saying is that now y'all will need to come to my office in Georgia, and almost none of these, well, maybe a handful of these people are actually in Georgia, but they will have to go to her office if they want to review any kind of discovery like this again. Yep. Fani will figure it out. Oh, absolutely. Just frustrated. And I think she filed a quick motion here for a good reason. Can they subpoena ABC News for the source? They can. That might be more trouble than it's worth. I really don't know what ABC is going to do about their sources. Office hours is when the real work gets done. True story. True story. Absolutely. Complete video is out. Oh, is it? The complete video is out. All right. Well, that definitely, it really tangles things up because, again, we have rules. I think information to the public is absolutely essential, but it has to be controlled. It doesn't need to be censored. I'm not saying censor it, but it needs to be controlled and understood why different pieces are out there. Do you just put a whole bunch of information out there with no explanation of how, when, why, and where? Things can kind of escalate quickly. But I would say, if the entire videos are out there, that's definitely going to lead to some trouble. Again, there's just no way to truly control how the venere, or the pool of people from which the jury is chosen, how much they've seen. They will have to ask those specific questions. So they will have to put that in jury questionnaires. Did you see the tapes? How much of the tapes did you see? What effect did that have? So all of that will have to now be included into their venere. Just not use those tapes. No, it's legitimate, proper evidence. It's very important, key pieces of evidence. So I have no doubt she'll use it. Where can I? Oh, I don't know. That I don't know. Moved our First Amendment. I don't know. I think we've never had a completely unfettered First Amendment rights. So I think there's always been regulations. I'm kind of new in what we're talking about. Can you start from the beginning about what we're about? Okay. Right. So voir dire will be complicated. I agree. So we had Chesbrough, we had Ellis, and then we had Powell along with the bondsman guy. They, although he just kind of gave information, but these three did recorded statements. So a Q&A session with the prosecutors in Georgia as part of their plea agreements. Those were recorded. Now, as was required by law, those videos were given, or those recordings were given to the defendants. Somebody here on the defense side, on their team, lawyers or someone in their office, leaked those tapes or pieces of those tapes to the media. And so now it's out. So that information is out. So she's requesting an emergency protective order, making it so that if they want any more materials, they need to come to her office. Any more recordings like this, they need to come to her office. And also just to acknowledge how important this is and remind the defendants, look, you guys are out on bond, but if you start sharing stuff with the media, we're going to call you out on it and revoke bond. Yes, I have the best moderators. Absolutely. It's a true story. I'm so thankful for that. So that's really what's going on here. But she just filed this today. So again, in response to all of the information that had been leaked out to the media. Because now, of course, all of that information is going to be distributed to anyone that lives in Fulton County, which is where the venere is or the jury pool is, and anybody across the country. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they asked for a venue change because of that. But I doubt they would win a venue change. That would mess up the campaign trail. Yeah, I think it's going to have a lot of, and you can see how much it's being talked about too. I mean, it's all over the place of those clips. It's all over. And, again, I'm not sure that Powell or Ellis would have thought, oh, well, this will never get out to the public. They probably realized that it would, but this isn't really the proper way to do it. This is like kind of unrestrained media access. Now, again, I'm not saying that the public shouldn't see these videos. I think it's very important, or do I think that they need to be censored? Because I don't think that's important either. But I think timing's important, and criminal discovery in criminal cases is very delicate. It's a very delicate issue. So it has to be very well controlled and very well, there has to be a lot of guidelines followed in order to make sure that the trial doesn't get prejudiced, because you want everybody to have a fair trial here. And, if this kind of evidence that's supposed to be private is kept out or is put out in the public before it's supposed to be, that could really have a negative effect. Think they will investigate who leaked it? I think they probably are continuing to look into it. I do. And again, I think if they figured out who it was, they would have grounds to do a motion to revoke bond for whomever it was. Wouldn't it be theft of evidence? It would be, Glenn. Yeah, it would be. It would be because they are not allowed to disclose this kind of discovery at this point. They already know who did it. Well, within her motion, she had set out that originally they had thought that Mr. Floyd's team sent an email to the state saying that it was Harrison Floyd's team, but then later redacted that and said, no, that was a typo. It was not our team. So they're not really sure who it was. Not really sure who it was, but Fani is a rock star. I agree. That woman's working so hard. She's working really, really hard, for sure. But this was a pretty major moment here. Let me scratch out Judge Cannon. Sorry, wrong case, everybody. This is a different case. We had a moment there. Is there confidence with Judge Cannon? Oh, we're back to Judge Cannon. Sorry. To approve this motion. Anything against it? Okay, so this is going to be Judge McAfee here. So let me just kind of clarify that. I had another commenter asking about Judge Cannon, but this will be Judge McAfee. And I think at this point, he's going to be very careful about how he takes care of this because, Fani is saying, hey, you didn't take care of this soon enough, and so now we're in trouble. So I think he's probably going to, yeah, it is a weird typo, I agree. So I think he's going to try to take care of it as quick as he can. At this point, he's really on top of things. I mean, if you can see his docket in Georgia, my goodness, it's madness. It's complete madness. So this judge is really on top of his work. He's just quick, absolutely quick. So I think he just had to prioritize. He had a ton of other motions going on, a ton of other things going on. I don't think this slipped through the cracks. I think it was just lower on his list of priorities. And now, because of this, it's probably shooting to the top of the list. Yeah, pretty major typo. How long does the court have to consider this? It really is just up to the judge, what he's got time to do. I think this judge, he's so quick. He's on top of everything. He will take care of it. I wouldn't be surprised if an order came out within the next, 24 hours. I would assume he would have something out quick in order to set it. Because he's going to need to do two parts. One, he's going to need to set out this protective order in place to protect discovery. And second, he's going to need to make sure that it's okay that this evidence is only viewed in Fani's office. She's specifically saying any recordings of people's statements, if they want to see those recordings, they need to come to her office. So he's going to need to say, yes, that's okay. It complies with Brady, as well as saying there's definitely a protective order in place. Defendants need to remember not to share discovery. What happened with the Georgia case request for the entire voting database? Not decided yet. We don't have an order on that one yet. I missed the typo. Yeah, so let me show you the exact exhibit here. She set it out here. So there was an email that was sent, and this is what it said. It said it was Harrison Floyd's team. So what they're saying is there was a typo, and instead of it was supposed to say it was not Harrison Floyd's team. All right, so this was a set of emails going back and forth because they had thought the prosecutors were the one that leaked it, and the prosecutors had said, no, the state had nothing to do with the leak. Oh, thanks, Jen. Thank you. Yeah, holy redaction. Yep. It's possible. Trump did. Yes, it's a lot of ink. I'm glad I just put a new cartridge in. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty significant. Again, it goes against the bond conditions. So if we do that, I'll need another box of black ink. Yeah, I'm okay for the moment, but I might. What's with the blackout? So this is all redacted. So because this is a public document, this is public, it's on the docket there in Georgia. Any kind of private information that's attorney-client information or any kind of location information, all of this needs to be blacked out. All this needs to be redacted before this exhibit was filed with the motion. So we do this all the time. This is actually very typical, or it should be at least very typical if lawyers are staying on top of their work. When we put exhibits in, we should be redacting or blacking out big pieces that have any kind of identifying information on it. So that's what they're doing here. Yes, it is pretty late. This is kind of a after hours, a quick to come on and kind of explain how this went down. Those videos continued to just make the rounds, and understandably so. So I thought I would just kind of give you a little bit of the background of legally what's going on and what Fani is trying to do to kind of deal with that. So, yes, after dark. Yes, if it does happen again, what are the next steps? So I think if it happens, I don't know. Okay, let me back up. If there are other proffers made by anybody else who flips, first of all, I think that defense won't be able to have it because they'll have to go see it in her office. That makes their job a little bit more difficult. It's easier to review evidence if you have it in your own, home field. But I think for any of the other discovery at this point, if any of it gets leaked out that shouldn't be out, they will, again, I think, look and see who leaked it and then go forward to try to revoke bond conditions if they can prove who it is. I think at this point, though, this will be a huge red flag. This will serve as a warning to everybody to be more careful with what's going on. The leak was by defense to blame prosecution and declare mistrial. Oh, that's a good question. I wouldn't say necessarily a mistrial, although that could be. I think witness intimidation, tainting the jury could be part of it. I think those could be elements of it. I suppose potential mistrial, although sometimes evidence like this gets out all the time in different kinds of cases. So, I mean, it's kind of a case-by-case situation. I don't think the content of what we've seen so far would be anything that would be grounds for a mistrial by any means, but it definitely makes things harder for everybody. Yeah, it's disappointing, everyone. And I had wondered too. I had seen several of the clips, and I had wondered too, how the clips got out. So, I have to be clear when I say, I'm not saying the media has done anything wrong here. I don't think there's some kind of special, ethics code that the media has broken. I don't believe that for 1 minute. I believe whoever gave it to the media, somebody here, that's where the violation occurred. So actually publishing it and putting it out into the public sphere, that's the job of the media. That's what they do. They inform the public. So I'm not saying the media has done anything wrong, but I am saying somebody here that leaked that information out violated their terms. Well, I mean, I think there's a sliver of ethics. I think at least the First Amendment has some kind of parameters. Can you look up Ellis and Powell testimony, and it will come up. Okay, yeah, yep. Media is going to publish anything they get. True, and we, we have to be careful that we don't kind of get dragged down with the ships, the media ships, when the ships go sinking. But I think anytime evidence is coming out about any trial, and it doesn't just have to be this one. There was a huge homicide trial that just had a verdict that came out in Wisconsin today. I think if there's any kind of media discussion about facts or evidence that they're setting out, I think that that's part of what the media tries to do. It is shocking on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's important for the public to see the evidence. I think that's very important. Most of the public doesn't know where the evidence is. So I get it. But on the other hand, if there are rules and restrictions on evidence, and defendants should not be giving that evidence out. Those videos should have been shown. That seemed wrong to me. Well, I think, I don't think it's an insurmountable issue. I think that it will be able to be overcome. The issue will. But I think it's definitely a red flag to say we can't do this again. We can't let this happen again. So, yes, I am. This is kind of a last minute hopping on and sharing this order here, or this motion. When I hear it, most of the public still doesn't know what evidence is. Yeah, they really don't. And that's one of the things. So, like one of the things, if you look at Jenna Ellis's proffer, everything that she's saying, that's all hearsay. It doesn't mean it's not admissible in court. It just means it's hearsay, which means there are certain rules that have to be put into place in order to hear what she has to say. So you would hear what the rules are, and then you would listen to the recording based with that filter of rules in your mind, hopefully, is what our jurors would do. But without understanding what those rules are, and you're just seeing the recording, you're not going to understand what all of that means in the technical issues. Nails are on point. Oh, thanks, Cece. Yes. Well, I have no doubt, Sarah, that they knew that that those recordings would be shown eventually to the public. This is probably way sooner than they had suspected. But although who knows? Honestly, I think with Miss Powell, she probably has a pretty good idea that she knew once the defense would get it, that it'd be all over the place. It seems like, I don't know, she seems to kind of have a way of looking at this that's a bit more accurate. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's accurate, like the techniques involved. I think she's got a pretty good grasp on it. But yes, I mean, they went in and spoke with the prosecutors knowing that whatever they were going to say would eventually be made public. This motion was filed by Fani. So this was a emergency renewed motion for a protective order over discovery materials for all of that. I wonder why only the two ladies who took the plea had their testimony released and not the others. Great question, Rick. Now, rumor has it, though, that Cheesebro's got his out there somewhere. That his is out there. I've not seen it. I've only seen clips of the two ladies, but his is out there too, though. It was her plan. It could be. It could be. She's definitely got kind of like a master plan going on. Why hadn't the protection order already been granted? Great question. And, you know, Fani had requested it on September 27th, I think is what she had said. And the judge had not granted it. It could just be as simple as, you know, it was kind of lower on the priority list. Maybe he had felt that, here's her original protective order here. It was September 27th. Maybe he had felt that he thought that the defendants wouldn't need to have this extra protection order. They would understand how important it was. So it was maybe lower on his priority list. And I mean, there are a lot more things. This judge, he's putting out fires all day. He's probably putting out, 2,000 fires a day. And for this case especially. And so for him, he was like, this one's only smoking. It's not completely on fire yet. So he hadn't put it down. But he will now have that moment where he's like, oh, that one got out of control a little bit. So we'll have to take care of that. Rudy is the most likely to have released the videos, in your opinion. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, any one of these people. Let me grab my picture card real quick, everyone, just so I can remind you who everybody is. Okay, here's the warning, okay? I try to give everybody a warning before I show you the picture. All right, so here's the picture. Here's Mr. Floyd right here. He's the one that they're saying had a typo. So it was his attorney, his team. So we have proffer done by Cheesebro here. Oh, the outfit's back. Oh my goodness. The warning still doesn't help. Oh my goodness. Sorry, everybody. Oh, your eyes. Look away. All right, so Cheesebro's here. And then we have Miss Powell and Ellis. So these are the two who have had most of their clips shown. Sorry about that. Wearing the same outfit during the plea hearings. Yes, they did. So I think they did the proffer right before the plea or the night before. They were very quick. The turnover was very quick on that. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. Oh my gosh. I guarantee that he didn't have, right. Oh, how was the science fair? It was great, everybody. It was great. We have some, what was it? There were all of these different setups for, water and different environmental issues going on with some water issues in town. No cloning, thank goodness, but it was specific to my area. Oh my gosh. So I couldn't take any pictures because it was very specific to my area. But yeah, so there's some watershed issues going on. It was great. It was great. It was a lot of fun. The filters are amazing. Oh, they make me laugh every time. No radioactive spills. No, thank goodness. Yes. So I'm not a big fan of the radioactive materials or the cloning, but huge supporter of science. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was fun for me. I'm not sure if it was fun for those presenting, but it was fun for me. So I had a good time. At a water lab, really interesting. Yeah, there's so much going on, and I think the sooner you start learning about it, the more helpful it is for you to understand. Any clue when the NFT fraud and wire fraud cases are coming up? Great question. No, I don't know. I missed the poster board science fairs. There were a lot of glue sticks used. All right, I'll say that right now. There was a lot of glue sticks. So what's your opinion on all of the guilty lawyers' mindsets? I'm really frustrated. I'm frustrated because I feel like the attorneys involved caused more harm than anybody else, honestly, because they use the law in a way to manipulate it. And I think that is worse than a layperson saying, okay, well, let's try this and let's see if it works. Meanwhile, you have a lawyer coming in and trying to give legitimacy to illegal actions. And I think that's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's heartbreaking. The green flame. Yeah, I agree. The green flame. Yep. So it's hard to watch. And, of course, I would say John Eastman this one really, really bothers me, especially because of the speech that he gave on January 6th was just, it's, and doubling down, it's a lot. And then Clark, of course, as well. So these two in particular, I think are really kind of the top of the list of the boogeymen now than in our profession. You don't want to end up like that. So they will be cautionary tales on what happens when power goes to your head, is what I believe they will be used as. So at least that's how I would teach it, for sure. Yeah, that Smith was a lawyer too. Standards of sentencing, but I think it should have been tougher for lawyers. I don't think you're wrong. I think the fact that all of them are fighting to keep their law licenses, I think is fair. I think that that's the least that can be done. Especially Eastman's case, the ethics board in California is just so mad at him, and rightfully so. So there's been a lot of information out about how out of line he was. Thought things come to light once the Kraken is released. Yeah, a lot of things came to light. Like, put the Kraken back. I don't want the Kraken anymore. Oh my gosh. Yes, law podcasts. Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. One of the most responsible for not. Yeah, and we don't want to. We can't give him a pass either. But I think he is kind of symbolic of what happens when you get really, really far into a particular. I don't know. You get too far away from actual practice. And you use your experience that you've had like 25, 30 years ago to base your daily decisions on now. I think that's a good illustration of that. Can we start over? Oh, Carlos. I will have this up on my Two of You channel for sure. For sure. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Absolutely true. That's so true. It is absolutely true. Too, and one of my law professors said this when we were in law school. He said, you have to understand that, this is what he did on the very first day. He said, this is us. This is the world. This is society. And this is where the lawyers are. So this is you. So this is where you are. And so when you get put so high up in a situation and that's promoted so much that you are at the top of the pyramid, if you don't keep yourself in check, that ego just will run amok. It just will absolutely run amok. And there are so many attorneys. You've got to have a huge ego in order to do the job. You just do. Just like law enforcement, you have to be able to put yourself out there and say that you know more than another person does about the law in order to do your job. But on the other hand, you can't trade your humanity. So I think that's really important. Licensed attorney, I haven't heard Sydney's testimony. All of them are going to, well, I really don't know what's going to happen. Aren't they barely attorneys? Well, that's the other question too. I mean, Clark was an environmental attorney, which is great. We need environmental attorneys, but what was he even doing? Trying to pull the DOJ in and issue false statements. I mean, that's just like, you don't seem to have an ego. Oh, no. Oh, I have an ego, everybody. Oh, make no mistake. No. You have to. It's a lot like basic training in law school. They break you down. They absolutely bust you down, no matter how good your undergrad was. And we were all top of our class. All of us were. And then they break you down and tell you you're completely incompetent and stupid, and then build you back up again. And with that comes a giant ego because you survive it. I think the more life you've lived before you go to law school, the more you'll be able to keep your feet on the ground. So I've had a lot. I had a lot of life before I went to law school. So my reality is pretty sturdy, but very much like the military. Yeah, it is. And that's the process of it. I mean, you're called on constantly every day, and humiliated in front of your peers just every day. They absolutely break you down. And, they have to. That's because they're getting you ready, because judges are going to do that to you. I never realized that. I'm like, why do they have to do this every day? It's so stressful. But then when you get in front of a judge and the judge rips into you and you're like, wait, this wasn't as bad as con law, so it's fine. Oh my gosh. Yes, and you need attorneys. We got to have some kind of an ego. I mean, again, we're making determinations that we're right and someone else is wrong. So you've got to have a certain level of ego in order to do that. Absolutely, you really do. But you also, once you lose your humanity for any job, then things start to take a turn for the worst. I mean, it really is like a villain movie, right? I mean, we had these very respected, highly respected, like Miss Powell was a very, very highly respected attorney, and just somehow kind of got pulled in and then decided to run with it instead of running away. She ran towards it. So I think that's a problem. Huge ego. Well, yeah, you have to have that. Our law enforcement, fire fighters, you have to have that level of an ego. Imagine in your own daily life going up to another person, handcuffing them and taking away their freedom. Like, you have to have a level of ego about you in order to find yourself better than another person enough to be able to take their freedom away. So I think that's part of the job. I think Trump's going to prison. Susie, I swear, I get asked that question about 20 times a day because it's such a great question. Everybody asks that question, and it's such a hard question to answer because there's too many variables. So if he's found guilty in all of his cases, the only case where it's required that he does prison time would be Georgia. So he's not required prison time anywhere else. The Florida case has the most amount of prison time available, but probably the least likelihood that he'd be sentenced to prison. So DC's only doesn't have that many years actually on the table, but he could be sentenced in DC. So it's 50-50. Georgia, again, has the only mandatory. I don't think he'll get any jail time at all in the New York criminal case either. So will he do prison time? I really just don't know. I really don't. I feel he should. Yeah, and a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people do feel like that's the only appropriate punishment. I've seen so many different ways of holding people accountable that I have faith that the courts will find something appropriate for that. Ego or confidence. I think that there's a difference because I think ego sets you out to think that you're better than others. Meanwhile, confidence is, this is difficult, but I'm still going to do it. So I think that they're just two different things, apples and oranges. Pick me, pick me. Do lawyers have to do swearing in each case? Do we swear in ourselves? No, we don't. No. Do you mean like taking an oath? We would go to jail if it was any of us. Oh, absolutely. That's without a doubt, Chris. Without a doubt. We would all be in jail already. We'd already been 2 years in jail. 2 years. Yes. No. No, we go in once we get our law license. We have to pass whatever rules are set for each of our states, and they're all a little bit different. We'll go in front of our Supreme Court or whomever it is. In my state, it's the Supreme Court, and they swear you in. So you take your oath and you swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and to whatever state you're in. Take an oath, and then there you have it, and that oath is good to go. Now, if you work for the government, depending on which office you go into, you will do another oath. So if you are a prosecutor, you have to take an oath when you come into office again, even if you are an assistant prosecutor or support. So all of those oaths have to be taken too. Takeaways, catch up. Oh my goodness. Do you believe he's guilty? I believe that we need a trial. I think we need a trial. I think people need to see the evidence. I think a group of his peers need to make that decision. I think that I have my opinion and my thoughts and how I feel about it, but I'm willing to support whatever happens with the jury. That's truly how I feel about it. Couldn't win a case. Well, you could write. I mean, we'll see. 91 counts. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of counts, everybody. It's a lot. What kind of effect do you think the conduct of Powell will have on the profession? I think all of these attorneys, like half of these, on my chart here, anybody with a blue triangle is an attorney. And so half of the people set out here are our attorneys. We've taken a huge hit. My profession, we're going to have to do a heck of a lot of PR because this is a mess. It seemed like right after Trump became president, there was a huge uptake in people going to law school and wanting to be involved. And I don't know if people remember watching the, hundreds of attorneys going and sitting in airports or going to various places trying to kind of very reactionary to a lot of the executive orders that came out right after he went into office. And I remember that, and everyone was like, yay, let's go. But, those kinds of moments have long passed. And now we are in a situation where we have this group of attorneys working together to try to kind of make things like they have an end goal in mind. And so they're trying to force it to fit a particular process, and it doesn't. And that's really disappointing. Uptick in that. Yeah, it's true. Yep. I think they've really done a disservice to the profession. And yeah, I mean, every other attorney that I've spoken to were very frustrated. Not the hat. Yeah, the Federalist Society literally putting people through law school. True. Well, good night. Good night to you as well. Law professor part-time. I was. I did. I am not currently teaching. Would he ever end up in jail if he violated the gag order again? It's possible, Rick. It's absolutely possible. He took an oath to uphold the Constitution, found guilty. Why not make him serve time? If that's what's appropriate, then that's what's appropriate. I agree. I have always found there to be multiple ways of holding people accountable. I don't think jail or prison is the only way. So I would, I think there are just a lot of different ways. Can they find an unbiased jury? Absolutely. We can always find an unbiased jury. I know that kind of seems weird from the outside, but as someone that's been through hundreds and hundreds of trials and going through the voir dire process, it is absolutely possible to find a jury. It really is. Is our law professor now? Oh, that's so sweet. I do try to help. Grand jury is tentative job for 1 year. It is. I think a lot of people get a little bit jaded after serving on a grand jury because they feel like the process is quite a bit different than what they thought it would be. I understand. A map of Trump and his lawyers. Is there a print or map of that? And his lawyers. I'm not sure. There's a lot of different resources out there. There's a lot of different websites that have set out kind of the docket and his attorneys. So how long will it take to find a jury? That I don't know. It's going to take some extra time now. It'll definitely take some extra time now that we've got this issue with these tapes that have come out. So 609, yes. You wrote guilty on the page. Oh yes, of course. We did a special live, so you get. I had asked. We did a vote, and I said, "What should we do?" And they said, "Write guilty in giant red on their heads." So that's what we did. So it's democracy. I try to say democratic way, but people get very frustrated with that. So we had a vote. We voted on it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the recordings of the proffered statements. I think American Bar Association will write a book about this. Great question. That's a really great question. I don't know. I don't know. I've had good and bad experiences with the American Bar Association, so I'm on the fence. Yes, well, maybe. I thought I wanted to make sure it fit in the box. My boxes were a little bit restrictive. What made you decide on the law? Honestly, I had kind of always leaned that way, but my background in my family, we were a military family, so college wasn't really part of our landscape. But I studied in Wales for a semester in college, and I had no television. I didn't have access to television, and I'd only brought a handful of books, and one of the books I brought was To Kill a Mockingbird. So I just read it over and over and over again, and when I got home, I was like, that's what I'm doing. That's it. It's really just that simple. I got home from Wales and signed the paperwork and got it all set up. Never looked back. No regrets. Yes, it is late. It is late. I know. Kind of a late night. Little bonus tonight, little bonus live here. Yes, we do try to not do political debates here. We do the Atticus effect. Yeah, Atticus, it was amazing, of course. I don't know. I got to a point where I think I could read through the book maybe 2 or 3 times in a night. So, which is saying something because they've got some amazing pubs over there. So, I'm just saying. But yeah, it was just, not everybody's that way, but... What new tapes? Yes. So we have Ellis, Powell, and Cheesebro all did proffer tapes that were recorded. They did a Q&A with the prosecutors, which were recorded, and those were leaked to the media. So were you the first in your family going to college? I was the first. I was the first to get an advanced degree as well. Yep, I was, but not the last. My brother and my sister followed. So... Yep, absolutely. It's not for everybody, and I don't know that I would recommend law school for everybody, but if it is, that's, go for it, absolutely. That was just something I needed to do, so... fines and house arrest, perhaps. Again, there are a lot of ways to hold people accountable, so we will have to see how things shake out. And again, he's got 4 cases going, so... for each of those cases, it seems like statistically there would be some finding of guilt for some counts somewhere. But again, and as I've always said, no matter how solid your case is in criminal court, if you're in front of a jury, it's a 50-50 shot. It's 50-50. It doesn't matter how strong your case is. I guarantee you put that in front of a jury, you do not know which way it's going to go. So there's no guarantee. And that's something else too. I would caution everyone. I've seen several... not creators on this app, although I'm sure they're out there, but some creators on other platforms who are saying, I can guarantee you he's going to go to prison, or I can guarantee you there's going to be jail time. If you hear somebody saying that, they are not an attorney, because as an attorney, there is no guarantee. Trial is not a guarantee. It's a gamble every single time. So there is really no no guarantee that there will be a finding of guilty. I wish I could give you that firm answer, but it's just not possible. It's just not. Yeah, there's just no guarantee. It's 50-50. These cases look solid, particularly the Florida case, in my opinion, is a very, very solid case, a very open and shut case. And so that one, I would say, I feel incredibly comfortable with that one, saying that it's very likely to be found guilty. But again, 50-50 shot in front of a jury. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. Can lawyers go to any state? Well, we need to be licensed in whatever state we're practicing in, although sometimes we can get pro hoc vice, which means we can be allowed in. If we're working on an appeal, we need to have a permission in order to go into federal court if we do state court. So, if I have a case in my state and it appeals up into the circuit court at the federal level, if we remove it and then it appeals, I could follow it by motion. But typically, you have to be licensed in your state or whatever state you want to. So there are multiple different states that you can get your license in. So, I know Rudy had his license in New York and in D.C. And Eastman's got, I think, D.C. and California. So, yes, you have a great night too. You ever have clients that want numbers? I'm not sure. Do clients who want the bonds generated in their case? I don't know. I haven't ever personally. Guaranteed conviction would go against how our justice system is supposed to work. And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, we can't guarantee a guilty. We just can't, or a not guilty. We can't. And if you have an attorney telling you, I can guarantee you that you will be found not guilty, that is incorrect. That is just incorrect. Can you well, no, we gotta wait. We've got lots of cases. Who will flip next? I don't know. I'm not sure. Why do you think Jack Smith hasn't filed and asked Cannon to recuse? Great question, Tori. And I think really the answer to that, if you take a look at the government's response to Trump's motion for Judge Chutkan in the D.C. case, they asked her to recuse herself, and the government responded. And if you read that brief, that response out of the D.C. case, I think it sets out what Jack's philosophy is on asking a judge to recuse. And it's a high standard. I think it's a very high standard, and I don't think he finds that they're there yet. Yes, I'm just on briefly. Yes, good night, Deborah. Yes, thanks for coming by. I think Fani's stressed out. I think she is, but, it's hard to be a prosecutor. It really is. It really is hard. I think she's probably stressed, but I think the heightened level of threats are probably a lot more than what she's used to. She's probably ready. She's probably at more of like a 60% threat, and then it escalated up to a 92% threat. So her request was to put into place a protective order for discovery. So that's kind of how that. I think the judges are stressed. I think so, but again, this is part of their job, and they get this isn't their only case, so they've got hundreds and hundreds of cases going and lots of stuff to do, so they may not even have time to be that much stressed. But Florida judges above her head. Yeah, I think so. And we've kind of talked about that before. She's new. She's a bit green. She's figuring stuff out. So the judges don't sleep. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine. I think Judge McAfee out of Georgia, I don't think he sleeps at all. He may be a vampire. No, I don't mean that. That'd be defamation. I don't mean that. Oh my goodness. Wear the prosecution down. Exactly. I think you're completely correct. I think in all of these cases, it's to kind of wear the other side down. And that's a valid strategy. So I think that's the strategy they use with any of the citizens that they sue as well. That seems to kind of be an ongoing. Was Discovery released? I missed everything. So Discovery was released, but it was not supposed to have been released. So that's the issue here. Let me just cover up my unexplained picture here. So what happened was the tapes that had been in the media were released, and one of the defendants released the tapes. So that's the issue. So she has requested an emergency protective order regarding discovery. Yes, yes. I popped on late tonight, everybody. So Kim Kardashian got a lot. There's a chance for us too. There's a chance for everybody. If you want to, if you're okay with like $150,000 debt. No, I kid, kind of. I kid in a sad way. But there's a lot of debt involved, but it's possible if you work. It's one of those things where you just have to work. And the harder you work, the better you can. Yes, off you go, Kristen. Have a great night. Have a great night. Oh my goodness. Yes, have a fantastic night. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. Do you know who released it? No, there was some talk that it was Floyd, but he said it was a typo. So we don't have confirmation on who released the information, but they think it might have been him, but he said there was a typo. So I don't know. We the purple. I just happen to have these on, everybody. And when I turned on the camera, I just looked down. I was like, do I have my nails? I do. I hadn't even... I don't even pay attention anymore. I probably should. How will that impact the case? It's a great question. I think the videos being released will kind of make it harder to find impartial jurors. I don't think it makes it impossible. I just think it's another hurdle that'll have to be, oh yeah, it is. That will have to be overcome during the voir dire process. So I think that, will someone get into trouble for leaking? I think if they can trace who did it, it could be seen as a violation of the bond conditions. So they could be called out for that. That's one of the things everybody had to agree to after they were arrested and put into pretrial release. So they agreed they would not disclose a discovery. So somebody disclosed it. We don't know who, we don't know where or how. It could have been someone in one of the law firms, it could have been support staff, we don't know. But I would say the biggest sanction would be to revoke bond for whomever did it. Can any of that cause a mistrial? I don't think a mistrial would be what we're looking at here. I think that if as long as voir dire is done carefully, and I believe it will be, I have no doubt about the voir dire skills going on here, that I think it'll be taken care of. So I don't think we'll have that big of a problem. But it's going to get messy. It's going to be harder to find people who haven't seen the tapes. Who don't feel like the tapes will affect how they're feeling about things. So I think that will be an issue. Change of venue, great question. I don't think this would rise to that level. I think, again, they've got so many people. Their population there in Fulton County, and the way that Judge McAfee had set it up for the original speedy trial cases where we had Cheesebro and Powell set to go for speedy trial. I mean, he was setting up hundreds and hundreds of potential jurors, every week. So they've got the people, they've got the population to be able to go through. So if you go through in voir dire, I think, what did he say? He had 500 to start for the first 2 weeks, and then another 500 coming in. And, they're trying to get, 20? So 20 people out of 1,000 people. I mean, it's absolutely possible. And then he said too, they would do 500 at a time. So one set of 500, can we find 20? No. Okay, another set of 500, another set of 500. So, I mean, there could be thousands of people who are questioned and asked. So absolutely, it could happen. What info was on the tape? It was just a Q&A between the prosecutors and Jenna and Sydney and Ken. So the prosecutors was asking questions like, well, did he know he had lost the election? Well, yes, he did. How do you know? Well, a whole bunch of people told him. How do you know? Well, I was right there when they told him. So there's just a lot of that kind of information that was put out that kind of goes to the whole RICO. Any charges yet? No, not yet. If you got asked to help prosecute any case, would you? I would consult if I felt that it would truly be helpful. I would also be willing to consult though for defense as well. Not defense for this case. No, thank you. No, thank you. But I would do consulting if that would be helpful, particularly during the voir dire process. So to help picture it. So that's one of the things I enjoy. But and absolutely help on appeals. That's the other area too. But Eastman pled guilty. Well, Robert, I don't have any information about that. I don't know about that. McCarthy get charged. That's a great question. Oh my gosh, everybody. What happened today in Congress? Dang. They're going to have to prove it. And there's video everywhere. So all they're going to need to do is watch the videos. You're so helpful. Oh, thanks, Tori. Thanks. I do try to help. Kind of explain it a little bit better. Someone to consult you on your fidget fingers. Oh my gosh, I know, right? They're my talking hands. I talk with my hands. I remember I had a middle school counselor who told my mother that I was going to have severe problems because I used my hands too much when I talked. And my mom was like, what? because my mom's deaf. So I was like, that's just what we do here. Oh, wait, what happened in Congress? Yeah, so McCarthy apparently elbowed some dude in the kidney. Although, I don't know the details of that. It's a he said, and I'm not sure who I believe. And then we also had some other senator talking to a Teamster, hey, let's take this out back. Like, what? Oh, Cross, someone told your daughter. You just tell your daughter, I guarantee you there's nothing wrong talking with your hands. She will be just fine. Just fine. Yeah, the press witness it. I saw that, the NPR reporter. Yeah. Helping us understand all of this. Oh, well, you are absolutely welcome. I think that if you have a place where you can ask questions and figure out what's going on, it can really help reduce stress about it. Elbow to the kidney. Yikes. Yeah, that was really... come on, guys, stop being so emotional. Oh my gosh. Scott Hall. Yes, Robert, you got it. I was going to say Eastman. I don't know about that, but yeah, Scott, you're right. You're absolutely right. He did. Yep, he was the first one and had some very great information, actually. He's got a lot of information. So that was a great first one. Calling out the judge. I don't know. I haven't seen the latest. Put a check next to his name. Yes, he's got a guilty. I'll show. Okay, the picture's coming, everybody. Be careful. Cover your eyes. Yeah, he was our first one that we labeled. Hawk stresses you out. Well, we're all different and we're all a little bit, cuckoo. I think we're definitely all a little bit cuckoo. If you've learned nothing else, you've learned that we're all a little bit nuts now. Our secret is out. Our secret's out. Yep. People realize that we're not quite right. How's with my stress? Good. I'm glad. That was really my goal. I was hoping to kind of help with that. So, yes, absolutely. So, that's a good thing. I think so. He's just a little anti-government. Yeah, well, it takes, we're all a little different. We all have our own style for sure. I think that's what makes it so fun and interesting, that we're all so very different. An attorney leaked it. Could it get their client in trouble? Absolutely could, yeah. That would be an ethics violation. If it was an actual attorney who leaked it, that would be an ethics violation. Mm-hmm. There's two hawks. Yes, I've got a lovely hawk that comes and visits me a lot here in my lives. And then we have another hawk who's out in California who also comes and visits sometimes. So we do. We have a couple of hawks that hang out. Yes, and I have the absolute best moderators ever. So I'm always thankful, grateful for their time sorting all this mess out. Well, I'm happy to do it. I mean, it's stressful. I didn't, and I have to be honest, I didn't realize how, specialized that this kind of process is. If you're not dealing with it every day, there's no way you could know the process or how these things work. it's just not knowledge that any person, regular person would have. So for me, I always feel like everybody knows the same thing that I know. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute, I don't think people do. So I think it's helpful if I can share information and answer questions. I'm just happy to do that if that is of assistance to anyone. Who the leaker was? Well, I don't know. I mean, rumor has it was Floyd, but he said there was oh my gosh, fruit salad. But Floyd said it was a typo. So now we're not sure. We're not sure who it was. Not sure. Able to educate others. Oh, we love that. I love that. Yeah, pass it along. Pass it along. You know, it's good to just kind of get an idea of how these things work and what they mean. And so we're not all actual lawyers. No, you're all getting there. This is the Law 101. By the end of this, everybody, with all these trials, you will all be honorary attorneys. I feel like we should pay you for all. No, oh my gosh, no, I'm so happy to be able to answer questions and come and hang out. It's I'm very thankful for it. I really, really have enjoyed my time with everyone. So absolutely, it's very fun for me. So many great questions and comments. I like the certificate. Well, I'll see what I can do. I might need to print up a PDF, everybody, after we get through all of this. Attorney versus lawyer. So it depends on where you're at. Usually attorney means you have a license to practice, and lawyer means you've graduated from law school, but they're pretty interchangeable. What league are we talking about? No, that's okay. It's okay. Yeah, there was tape of the proffers. There was recordings made, and those were leaked to the media recently. So, oh no, it's okay. This was kind of an impromptu last minute live. So, what is the meeting made a typo? So, here's the email. And a lot of it's redacted. So this was the email that was sent out, and they're asking, like, did the prosecutor leak the tapes? And then there was one email that said it was Harrison Floyd's team. And so the implication was that it was his team that leaked it, but he's saying it was not Harrison Floyd's team. So there's a typo here. So that's kind of the question that's been going on. There's a typo. Yeah, I mean, I know. Good question. Typo. Yikes. Very magical. Oh, you're so sweet. Yes. So, yeah, that's a pretty major typo. I would say that's a pretty major typo. Yep. So, wouldn't that be shown during the trial? They would, but a very controlled way. I think there's a difference between, just everything being shown to the public all at once without proper bumpers or proper safeguards in place, as opposed to a very controlled environment during trial where you're told what to consider and what to toss out. So we have to kind of be careful with our evidence. How many lawyers use Esquire? I think we all use Esquire. I mean, if you don't have to be licensed to practice in order to be an Esquire. So that's usually what a lot of law students use is Esquire. So if you want to be pretentious, which we do, of course we do. That's why we're in law school. So lollipops, Giuliani was involved. Ooh, interesting. Okay. I have 5 lollipops. I do like the lollipops. Oh my gosh. Have you ever done a state? I have. I've dabbled. I think every attorney has dabbled a little bit, but that's certainly not my forte, not my primary area. So I am taking a peek at the clock, everybody, and I am going to go ahead and let you go here. Wait, there's still students? Is it appropriate? Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's okay to use Esquire if you're a law school student. I think that's okay, but you just have to be clear about it. So I'll go ahead and sign off for tonight, everyone. Now, remember, I will be going on my Tube of You channel tomorrow, live streaming. So my live will be on my Tube of You channel. We're doing that on Wednesdays, but I'll be back on TikTok, 7 o'clock Central, my normal time. Punch-free sleep. Yes. Punch-free. Oh my gosh, yes. So I'll be on my Tube of You tomorrow on Wednesdays, and then Thursday I will be back here at 7 o'clock. So I we'll see you all then. Thank you, moderators, for coming on in and helping out as always. And thanks, everybody, for coming and hanging out. And I will see you all tomorrow. Again, I'll be over on my Tube of You channel. So if anyone wants to join on over there, see you then. Take care. Have a great night, everybody. Computer, no, I've moved the computer. Good night.